Welcome to Animorphs Anonymous, the podcast where we casually discuss the Animorphs one book at a time.
I'm Kaycie.
And I'm Alex.
And we're going to talk you through the plot of each book.
But more accurately, take you on tangent trips, factoid forays, and say, well, actually, as much as possible.
Join us on the 1st and the 15th of each month, and we'll take you along on our mission.
And we promise to have you back under the 2-hour time limit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army.
Okay, but wait, I have one correction before we get into that.
Okay.
So this was on Reddit through a thread that started out not at all talking about our podcast, totally other thing. It was this guy that was like, can I still read Animorphs even though I'm an adult? And I'm like, absolutely, you can fucking read Animorphs whenever you want. And I just mentioned it. I'm like, I love it still. I have a podcast about it. I do blah, blah, blah. And somebody's like, you got to tell me your podcast so that I can listen to it if I don't already. Well, it turns out this is my new friend here, whose username is Cassowary Morph. So you already know. Exactly. You already know how we feel about them.
Okay.
And so Cassowary Morph was like, I was just about to write you guys an email.
Seriously?
Yeah. And they corrected a lot of our World War I, World War II stuff. So here is everything that I got wrong. And it is a decent amount of things. So, after the blah, 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 most recent, but okay. So foxholes and trenches played significant roles in both wars was my first thing, which I knew they had both, but I definitely thought trenches were World War I, foxholes were World War II.
So I know what a trench is. What's a foxhole? Like, what's the comparison?
That's like just a little depression dug in the ground that you can hide behind, but it's not a full, like, you can't stand up in them or anything.
Okay, I gotcha.
But my thing was, like, World War I was so deeply entrenched in trench warfare. Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, they used it plenty in both. And I kind of knew they used it in both, but for me, they're always very separate in my mind. So that was wrong. Sure. The Nazi Party was not in existence during World War I, and I'm reading directly from Cassowary Morph here, and was actually a response to spreading communism in Germany after the war, which is deeply ironic since the Germans themselves had a significant role to play during World War I in bringing the communist revolution to Russia. In my mind, I think I said this on Reddit as well, I always thought that the Nazi Party was, like, kind of already brewing by World War I, even though they hadn't, like, come into their own yet. So, I don't know. I'm just wrong. And then Cassowary also put forth, the apparent incongruities in Grandpa G's stuff between, like, World War I and World War II could be explained if, in fact, Grandpa G had fought in both World War I and World War II. Which would make sense, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I was willing to buy into that theory.
Yeah, if he had just been a grandpa, then it would have made sense he just did World War II. But since he's great-grandpa and he was probably old as fuck, then yeah, right. I guess it's possible he could have done both.
And if he fought in World War I, if they brought him back for World War II, I believe generally, and I don't know why I'm speaking after I just had to correct everything I said in the last episode, but I believe generally they'd be in, like, a higher position of power to, like, train the new guys coming up because they'd already seen war.
Worst promotion ever.
Yes. So now that we've made it through all of that bullshit, please tell me what you thought of this book.
What even? What? Why does Rachel get all the weird morph shit?
I don't know.
Like, I was just thinking of the alligator crocodile, whatever it was, situation. Yeah. She's just like, It has the premise of being, like, a really kind of funny, kind of shenanigans type book. Mm-hmm. But then it gets really fucking dark and really kind of sad. So, I don't know. I will elaborate more as we go through it, but this is a real standout book for a multitude of reasons. I will say that the cover morph situation is, like, the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
I think it was David that saw the cover of this book, and he just went, Conehead. It might have been Drew.
Oh my
it was one of
God.
those two.
Oh my god. Conehead.
Coneheads. And yeah, that is what happens on the cover of this book.
Oh my god. That's the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, it's well done, but it's the worst thing I've ever seen from an aesthetic point of view.
See, I thought that, and then when I was reading the morph description about how, like, her thighs, like, ballooned out, I was like, ugh, that's worse somehow. Who do you think wrote it?
Oh, no, I don't know. My PDF didn't tell me this time.
Do you know why that is?
No.
Because it was Applegate.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, I've been so excited since we started the guessing game to get to this book.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
no.
I was like, I want to know what Kaycie says.
Oh, see, I think I would have guessed it was a ghostwriter, but
Yeah.
Oh my god, this changes some things for me in my
Better or worse?
Well, when we get into it, we can talk more about
Okay.
the tone, because that's where the block is for me. But anyway, we should get into it because I'm ready to rumble.
All right, let's do this. Rachel gives us the rundown on the Yerks. We get the normal, they're here, they're taking our buddies, blah, blah, blah. No one cares. They're on a field trip. Their class was taken to the ocean to look at tidal pools because they go on the best fucking field trips ever. And they're like, let's check out all the cool life in these crazy tidal pools. And Rachel's mostly annoyed. She's like,
She's really mad.
She's very mad. She starts out very angry. She's like, there's boys jumping all over the rocks pretending to be superheroes, but they're bullshit. And there's girls traveling in small groups gossiping.
I mean, that would annoy me too, honestly.
Yeah.
Fucking kids.
For sure. Fucking kids. And then all these girls are going around, like, gossiping in these small groups. And this really read for me like something like, oh, I would have enjoyed that once, except now who gives a fuck who likes who, because other shit's happening that's way more important. I appreciated that. She doesn't like those girls either.
I like how Cassie's like one of 3 people that's actually trying to learn. Yeah.
Cassie was there, but Cassie was like, don't bother me. I'm looking at starfish. Fuck right off.
I love Cassie. Cassie is me.
Cassie is the good in all of us.
She's the good kid.
She is the good kid.
She's a contender for the magic school bus because she would actually try to learn and do things.
And she would totally be on board with the crazy shit that happens on the magic school bus. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing fucks her up.
She's been tiny before. It's fine.
She has been. But yeah, so Rachel's like, fuck all these kids. So she's like looking around on her own, and she eventually gets to a tidal pool that's really deep, like has this pretty deep crevice in there, and she notices a starfish, and she's like, oh, it looks dead, and then it moves, and she's momentarily entertained, like, oh, it's like it answered me in my head, because I said it looked dead. It's like, hey, no. But during this, like, musing, her earring slips off and falls into the water, apropos of nothing.
Conveniently,
and they're these hammered gold hoop earrings that her dad bought her from Portugal, and she gets really angry. She's like mad at her dad that he bought her these earrings and he's expecting her to wear them. She's mad that this happened, and then she like realizes that, oh, the solution's right here. I'm gonna acquire the starfish because the starfish could totally reach that. So she acquires it.
Which I'm going like, they have no eyes. How are you gonna find this?
Unimportant. Like, she's very reckless in this initial sequence.
Oh, and Bailey happened before this, right?
Yes. No, Bailey happens now because she acquires a starfish. She looks around and that's when she sees Bailey. Right. And she like got down to her morph suit before she like looked around.
Because then he was creepily checking her out and it was icky. And I hated it.
It was icky, but it was also like so...
She handled it very well.
She handled it well, and he was so stupid. He was just like, you look good. And she's like, fuck off. And
she's like, I know. Fuck you.
Yeah, she's like, literally, I know. What of it? He's like, no, you look good. And she's like, go away. And he's like, no, you look good. Like, you look good.
Like, oh my God,
that's all he
get
says.
Out.
Yeah, dude, it's not working. Go away.
You need to leave.
You fucking need to leave, Bailey. And I do like that throughout this book, Bailey is mentioned other times.
Yeah.
So it's great. But yeah, and then after like the 5th or 6th time he was rejected, she tells him that, you know, he just needs to leave, and he calls her a stuck-up bitch, and she goes, and that's how you just learned the difference between good looks and a good personality.
Damn!
It was fucking amazing.
Dabs.
Oh, dabs on him real hard. Oh god. That's what would have happened if these books were written in the late 2010s.
Yeah. Oh my god. I have to say dabs when I dab because no one can see me dab.
I didn't even realize till after that when I said dab, I too did dab, but it was really high to avoid the microphone, so it was a weird one.
Rip Mike.
Yeah. Fuck that kid, he leaves. And she sees this other couple way down the beach with 2 kids, and she's like, well, they're far enough away, this is fine. So she morphs to Starfish, and she, like, has this weird gross morph that we kind of mentioned because, like, her, like, legs all ballooned out, and, like, she just turned into, like, a literal starfish. Like, there's not much there.
This is Patrick.
Exactly what I thought. Okay. So anyways. She spends more time figuring out how to get into the fucking pool and whether she's going up or down than anything else. She does, by crazy random happenstance, touch the earring, figures out how to get it into her weird starfish mouth, and then slowly climbs back out of this pool. And as she gets out of it, hits the top, all of a sudden, wham, she gets hit, and it's bad. Like, she's cut in half, fucked up, about to die. And that's when she's like, I have to demorph as fast as I can to save myself.
Jeez.
And so she does, and when she gets back to her human self, she sees this little kid with this shiny new shovel, and she's like, that's the motherfucker right there. And she's like, I'm gonna go kill him. And then she's like, no, wait. Bailey is the one I must kill. He started this. And she takes off screaming like she's gonna murder him.
Side note, when she was demorphing, her eyes morphed first, and that was the thing that squeaked me out so bad.
Just a half a little starfish with 2 blue eyes on it. Anyways, it was super gross, is the point. Yeah, so Rachel takes off going to murder Bailey. And then Rachel demorphs and sees a few other people, including a blonde girl running off into the distance. She finds her earring wedged between her toes and is relieved and starts thinking about her parents, for only a moment. Then she realizes she's shaking because she's terrified. And then she thinks about how she was so mean to Bailey and how she should apologize because he was just, like, trying to be nice. So maybe she'd go on a date with him to make up for it, but oh, no, wait, that would hurt Tobias's feelings. So she makes it back to the bus, finds her things.
I'm so fucking confused at this point.
Fucking... She puts on her sweater, and this other girl on the bus is like, oh my god, I love your sweater. And she's like, thanks, I got it from Abercrombie on sale. It was like 33% or something bullshit like that. I don't know. And the other girl's like, do you want to go shopping? And Rachel's like, oh, I should go shopping, but no, I shouldn't, because I said I'd go with Tobias. Would that hurt his feelings? Maybe I should, though. Shopping's more fun. So then she's like, I'm not going to go flying with Tobias because it's so scary. Maybe Cassie will go shopping with me. No, probably not. And then after Rachel's, like, going through this whole thing in her head, the other girl's just like, never mind. So,
God,
didn't appreciate that.
At this point in the book, so I was reading the ebook that's online for free to read. It's legit. Yes. I'm not being a creep. But, like, you know, there's, like, typos in it. And I'm never really clear about where the chapter breaks are. Mm-hmm. So this is where I got super fucking confused. I did not gather that there were 2 demorph sequences at this point. Yeah. So I was just really confused about why Rachel was suddenly in a rage and then she was suddenly like this total like Valley Girl ditz person. So I must have blacked out for this because I legit do not remember any of this.
Well, I kind of stressed it when we were going through it. When you're reading it, it is a lot more subtle than that. Like, yeah, you kind of catch it, but it also, like, you could very easily skim right past it and, like, not pick up that there was 2 demorph sequences. Uh-huh. So, it's not, like, just the ebooks That might be part of it, but it's not only that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta start getting you the physical copies. You need them more than me.
I can do the next one. I've seen that one in the library, so I'll do that for the next one. Side note, why is she thinking about not Tobias again? Stop emotionally cheating on Tobias.
This is a weird journey that nice Rachel takes throughout the books. Like, she just... I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Whatever. I have more to say about this, but we can do it later.
Oh, I have plenty more to say, but it'll come up.
Yes.
It'll come up naturally. But this is fine because here's the next chapter. Rachel met up with Tobias and basically just continues to monologue about the sheer power of eagles and how this is true power. And at first it doesn't seem like it because you're shrinking, but then the ripping talons and the beak, it's fantastic. And then Tobias is like, yo, you ready? And she's like, okay. So they go flying, they get some thermals, and Rachel's monologuing. And it's fantastic until they get over a river, and Rachel's like, some fish below. She goes careening towards the water, screaming, bird of prey, Tobias, prey! And he's like, are you okay? Did you lose control?
My God.
And she just careens into the water, catches a fish, and then proceeds to eat it, mentioning how she ate its still beating heart.
What the fuck, David?
Kind of, except David was like, oh no, I just lost control, my bad. And Rachel's like, I will eat its still beating heart.
Through to the end.
I am the Grand Master, thank you.
I am fire, I am death.
She literally at one point in this book screams, I am a goddess!
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I love it. I love it so much. Okay, sorry, I have to keep going. There's something so good coming up.
Yes.
Okay, so we cut back to the mall. Rachel is endlessly yammering at Cassie about like, oh my God, look at this sale. I want this. Wouldn't it be great if I got something on sale? Oh my God. And in my notes, I wrote, I want to die.
Oh my God.
So she's trying to figure out the logistics of buying matching outfits with Cassie. They'll have to like call each other before they wear it. And like, if Cassie wears it, she can't wear it the next day. But
yeah, like for sure, totally.
Fuck you, like for sure, totally.
I've not thought about that movie in like 500 years.
That movie is so good though. It's Valley Girl for anybody who's
with
wondering.
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas fucking Cage.
As a baby, it's so upsetting.
The ending part of the movie is set to I'll stop the world and melt with you.
Nice.
It's amazing. Valley Girl is an amazing movie.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love that one.
The only thing I remember is that line, and he like, spoilers, he has sex with some random girl in a club, and then he feels really bad afterwards.
Well, you would too if you had done
If I hooked up with somebody in a gross club.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, the whole, like, for sure, totally, and then him just being angry and being like, fuck you, for sure, like, totally. Mocking her.
Didn't he have a really gross friend, too?
Yeah, like a really, like, skeezy, like, punk friend.
Yeah, like those guys from Grease.
But then he turned out to be, like, with a heart of gold. Mm-hmm. So, you know.
Character growth.
Yeah, it's all great. I really enjoy that movie. We should watch that again. Maybe that's what we can do for another side cast is a Valley Girl review.
Valley Girl cast.
The Valley Girl cast, yeah. Anyways, sorry, for sure, totally.
Yeah.
Rachel's in the mall. She bumps into this girl who's bigger than her, and she's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And the girl's like, the giant mean girl is like, what the fuck, get out of my way. And Cassie puts an arm on Rachel like, don't do anything. Just calm down, it's fine. And then the mean girl's like, get off your preppy blonde ass out of my way. Blonde butt is something I specifically remember her calling Rachel. And then Rachel just runs out of the store crying, goes to sit on a bench outside of Baby Gap, and Cassie's like, what did you do with Rachel?
At this point, I figured out what was happening.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Because no one else has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shocked I got it so quickly. Because normally it takes me a while with that kind of stuff. But...
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it took me a lot longer when I was first reading this book, too. And I was like, why is this written so weirdly?
The one thing I wasn't sure about at that moment was how many Rachels were there. I thought maybe there were like 5 Rachels, which would have been way too many.
Oh my fucking god, can you imagine?
No, I don't
like
want
the
to.
7 sins of Rachel.
Yes! That'd be kind of amazing.
That would actually be pretty good. We should explore this idea later.
Yes.
This would be so good. Okay, anyways, Rachel walks into the mall. She hates the mall. Everybody is an idiot. Plus, it took a really long time for her to find it because she really couldn't focus on what was happening. But nonetheless, there's boys with gross faces, there's trophy wives with gross husbands, and everything is stupid. But Rachel needs new clothes, so here she is. She got home and she realized all of her clothes were girly clothes. And while yes, she was a girl, she's not a squeaky clean preppy girl. She wants leather, damn it. Leather.
Oh my god.
That's her look.
She is Crowley and Aziraphale. At this point.
I don't know what that means.
From Good Omens.
Oh, I know. Okay, sorry.
You just told me you watched it.
I did, but it takes me time because I have so much media in my head. Sometimes
Sure.
I have to catch up.
Okay. Maybe it was just a
very
bad
bad.
comparison.
I haven't learned names yet. I'm only on episode 2.
She's David Tennant and Michael, whatever his name is.
That's what I've learned. Okay, anyways, here's my favorite part, maybe of the whole book. There was a couple that had a 2-year-old, and they're both like, oh my god, he's taking his first steps, isn't this amazing? And Rachel blows past him. I assume knocks him over, though that was not explicitly stated. And they're like, hey, my son's just learning to walk. And then she goes, yeah, with your genetics, that's probably all it's going to accomplish.
Oh!
So good. But wait, there's more. So Rachel sees Cassie up ahead and she's like, oh, fuck that. So she ducks into a Williams-Sonoma to avoid Cassie. And that's when Rachel bumps into that same mean girl that bumped into Rachel earlier.
Oh my fucking god. I forgot about
And that
this
girl's
scene.
oh, it's so good. And that girl's like, hey, crybaby. And Rachel, in Rachel's head, nicely warns her that she's a hideous, putrid, disease-ridden lump of lard. The girl tries to go after Rachel like, what the fuck did you say to me? And Rachel pushes her into a countertop that has a knife display on it, grabs her sweater and starts taking knives and one by one stabbing them through her sweater into the counter to pin her down. And she uses like 9 fucking knives and then lifts the cleaver above her head, is about to bring a meat cleaver down onto her head, and then realizes, well, this girl's kind of like me. I kind of like that. So instead she just grabs her cheek, pinches it, like kind of like moves her head like and was like, oh, I'll let this go. Puts the meat cleaver down and then walks out of the store. Like, goodbye.
Oh my fucking god. I feel like if this had been happening later in the book, she definitely would have killed that girl.
100% she would have killed that girl.
Oh my god.
Like, I honestly think if this wasn't young adult fiction, that meat cleaver just would have gone down into her head.
Yep.
This is like
Watchmen style.
fan-fucking-tastic is what this is.
Oh my god.
You can obviously tell I'm delighted.
That girl.
Okay. So, Rachel's at the barn now, which may or may not be scary, because it could be scary if it was dark, but it's, like, not dark now. But there are animals, which could be scary.
Oh my god.
And, you know. And then she's like, I can't believe I ever morphed. Like, that's so scary. There's so much. So much. And then Cassie's like, Rachel isn't herself. And everybody's like, what do you mean? And, like, she's like, tell Marco what you said about him earlier. And she's like, oh, like, I think Marco's funny and he's kind of cute. And Marco's like, what? What? And Marco's like, I know many truths. The Cubs never win the World Series, which was fucking hilarious, by the way, because, you know, they just did like 2 years ago or whatever.
Ugh.
And that Scully never ever believes Mulder, and that Rachel does not think I am funny. And then Jake is like, Axe, restrain her. She's a yerk. And so he puts his tail blade up to her throat, and she's like, oh my god, this is so scary. Like, I would fall over, but then I would die on his tail blade. And Cassie is like, she's not a Yeerk, because she wouldn't act like this if she were a Yeerk. That would be suspicious. And Tobias is like, yeah, earlier she was super weird too, like really aggressive, and ate a fish's still beating heart. So Axe, like, lowers his tail blade, and then the barn doors just burst open, and Rachel comes walking in, asking what the mission is and how many Yeerks get to die.
Jesus fucking Christ.
This is where we now know there are 2 Rachels, for sure.
Doodly-dee-dee, 2 Rachels, doodly-dee-dee. Anyway, Marco makes a horrific comment.
Yes. Oh, this is not the first time Marco makes extremely inappropriate comment.
Jesus Christ.
This child, okay. So Nice Rachel is extremely confused. She's like, what the fuck is happening? Meanwhile, Rachel goes on a rampage. Marco starts saying something like, oh, look, now there's one for me and one for Tobias. This is great. So Mean Rachel, without any word of warning, goes straight into a flying double barrel kick to the chest, pins Marco to the ground, grabs his hair, and starts telling him he needs to shut up about this or she'll kill him.
Fuck.
And, like, Nice Rachel is just doing her preppy Valley Girl thing in her own head. No one cares. And then Mean Rachel starts threatening Nice Rachel and, like, raps her on the head. And she's like, ow. Like, and then Mean Rachel's like, I asked you a question. And then starts threatening her again. And Jake's like, okay, no threatening anybody. So Rachel turns around towards Jake and starts going, I'll fucking fight you. I'll beat the shit out of you. I don't give a shit. I'll fucking fight you right now. Let's go outside. As long as that pet Andalite stays out of it, I'll beat your ass. Like,
so aggro.
It's really intense.
Oh my god.
And then Marco's like, excuse me, I have another body joke if Axe will protect me so I can tell it.
Oh my god. He's such a troll in this book.
He's the worst in this book.
Oh.
And then Eric the Cheese shows up and is just like, what the hell
What's going
happening?
on, you guys?
Yeah,
what is
and they're
this
like,
fuckery?
He's like, what is this? And then they're like, there's 2 Rachels, and then he's like, okay, well, here's the shit you need to know about the mission.
He just kind of like brushes it off. He's like, okay.
He's like giving him the major side eye, but like not doing anything.
Fucking Eric.
Eric is just like,
I love him in this book.
He's so funny, and then he's so depressing.
I know! He's such a buzzkill, but he's so fucking silly. Ugh.
He is so silly. This is my favorite part, is when Rachel's like, we're gonna go, like, rush right in, go kill them all, and then we'll get a flamethrower. And Eric is like, you guys are really weird. I think I should stop hanging out with you.
And then Ditzy Rachel is like, Eric's kind of cute, I guess. And I'm just like,
if he wasn't a robot.
Yeah,
but
I'm
then
just
he's like 1,000 years old, so he's got the mature thing going on.
I was like, I cannot handle Ditzy Horny Rachel. It's bad.
I have so much not good feelings towards that Rachel.
Oh.
But also, every time I really relate to Mean Rachel, I worry about myself a little.
Oh, no.
Because I'm like, she knocked a child over.
That's funny.
Like,
Wait, that's bad.
Cool. Yeah, it's not cool. They liked that kid.
By societal conventions, that's not a good thing.
That's not the best thing you could do. I don't know. I still support it, though.
Knocking children over?
Yeah, fuck it. Okay, so anyways.
I mean, they're probably just gonna knock themselves over. They're gonna run into a wall or something. Anyway, let's not.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Kids, especially if this is his first time walking, of course he's gonna fall on his ass any minute now. What does it matter if he gets knocked down?
That'll learn you.
As Chumbawamba said, he gets up again.
Oh my god.
I apologize.
No, do not. That was amazing.
That was terrible. So then we switch to Mean Rachel's perspective. And literally this is how they're in the books. It's Nice Rachel and Mean Rachel. So we're not like saying that as like we're being the derogatory ones. That is how it is defined. So we switch to Mean Rachel's perspective, where she's like, our plan is to go in guns a-blazing to the Yeerk pool and destroy the anti-morphing ray that Eric just told us about. And Jake's like, hey, why don't we wait for Eric to give us all the details before we just make plans willy-fucking-nilly?
God.
And then, so Eric's like, okay. So he gives them, like, the download on, like, oh, they have this anti-morphing ray. It's at this facility, blah, 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 details. And Jake's like, great, we have it from here. And Eric's like, thank God. And he walks out.
He's like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
He was like, I want no part of whatever's happening in there. Like,
oh, I fucking love Eric in this book.
Yeah, Eric is just like, things have gotten weird, but this is too weird for me, so I'm done.
I've been alive for millions of years, and I cannot even.
Yeah, and you guys are the weird ones, and millions of years, this is what I don't want to participate in. Oh.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's great. And Tobias is the one that really brings it back home because he's like, yeah, great, we have to take care of that morphing ray thing for sure. But what about this to Rachel thing? And mean Rachel's like, what? Am I not enough for you? You need, like, you can ditch the pinhead, Rachel. I'm your girl. And Tobias is like very awkward, like, that's not what I was meaning to say. Like, that's not at all what I meant. And then Jake's like, okay, Rachel, what happened today? Like, recount your days. And mean Rachel's like, school, field trip, here, and that's it. What else matters? And nice Rachel's like, so this morning I, like, had a shower, and they're like, nope, too much detail. Like, fast forward to the field trip. What happened on the field trip? And that's where it eventually comes out, like, oh, I lost an earring, morphed starfish, got cut in half. Okay, great. Now we all know. So, then it turns into an argument where mean Rachel's like, this was just a stupid gift because of guilt. And nice Rachel's like, no, he's our dad. He loves us. And she's like, no, he's not. He's trying to buy our affections. It means nothing.
I fucking love this conversation. I fucking love it.
Why do you love this conversation?
Well, first of all, it reminded me of, like, Smeagol and Gollum in The Two Towers.
Oh, I didn't make that comparison.
It was literally like an internal struggle, but, like, made literal. Mm-hmm. Like, this is probably how Rachel feels about her dad, like, inside. Well, obviously, because these are the blah, blah, blah parts of Rachel.
Yes.
But, like, I just love that it came to the forefront, and it was such, like, a weird thing to kind of bring up in that moment. But, I mean, not really, but... And that it comes back later, I don't know. I just thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I loved that about this conversation as well. And the other ones that you mentioned come up later. Just this, like,
you don't have
every
anything.
Internal conflict, and now it's happening in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just all the interactions between the Rachels are just gold to me. Ugh.
Yes. And as they grow through this book and change is really awesome as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Individually, I hate both of them, but together they are.
Individually, I don't love either of them. I like mean Rachel. I dislike nice Rachel.
I could not with either of them. I'm just, ugh.
Mean Rachel, I felt like if she had just pushed through... we'll continue on.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spoil anything before we get there for our dear listeners who have already read these books. But here we go. And Shannon, who hasn't. So, anyways. Yeah, so they're arguing back and forth about this gift and whether it was guilty or nice or blah, blah, blah. And then they're just interrupted by Jake, who's like, okay, knock this shit off. We can't. And Cassie was like... I think I know what's going on. And they're like, okay, what the fuck? She's like, starfish regenerate, right? Like, when you cut off a limb, it grows another starfish. So probably what happened was when she got cut in half and demorphed, she somehow regenerated. And Marco and Axe are, like, in this moment, extremely interested by this phenomena in, like, a scientific way that does not pertain to what's going on. They were
Science
like,
boys.
Yeah, they were both like, whoa, regeneration, that's totally fucking cool. Tell us more about starfish.
Thanks,
and
Miss
how
Frizzle.
did she get these, like, yeah, exactly. And, like, how did they get these differences in personalities? This is very interesting. And Jake's like, okay, wrap it up. Rachel, nice Rachel, go home. Mean Rachel, also go home. And mean Rachel's like, I'll fucking kill you. And then they just leave her.
Oh my
like, fuck
God.
it, you can't.
Okay, two things.
Yes.
I fucking love Jake in this entire book. Everyone's being a fucking nuisance, and he's just trying to be a good leader and keep everyone on track. I love that.
Yes.
Secondly, where is a starfish's brain?
I don't know that they have
Or, like...
a true brain. I think they just have a nervous system, right?
I guess, because, like, I
Or
don't...
is that jellyfish?
I don't necessarily see what Rachel getting cut in half as a starfish is different than, like, Jake getting his tail snapped off as a lizard. You know what I mean?
I think because it was half and half is the only reason, and because the starfish have that regeneration ability. Because
But, like, lizards can
otherwise-
grow their tails back.
Yeah, but I think it's because of the regeneration that made the difference, because if they had gotten their tail cut off in battle, which has happened in this book, Rachel gets an arm sliced off, and they can morph out of the rest of the body. I think it was that regeneration ability that made the difference. Why it split their personalities, I don't know.
What would happen if they were an earthworm? Because you cut an earthworm in half and it grows, like, new worms. You get, like, 2 worms.
Does it?
Isn't it? Like, if you cut an earthworm in half, then, like, both the halves are alive, and they're basically 2 new entities? I don't know.
Okay, hang on. First Google search, where is starfish brain?
Where is brain?
What a starfish lack? Well, a starfish lacks a centralized brain. It has a complex nervous system with a nerve ring around the mouth and a radial nerve running along the ambulacral region of each arm parallel to the radial canal. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have a brain. It's just a nervous system.
You're a nervous system.
Okay. I am. My anxiety is crippling.
No.
And the second question was about...
Earthworms.
Earthworms. Do earthworms require planning permissions?
What?
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 Do oh, it corrected my word. Do earthworms... How would I phrase this? Regenerate when cut in half. There we go. If an earthworm splits in 2, it will not become 2 new worms. The head of the worm may survive and regenerate its tail. The animal is cut behind the clitellum. The original tail of the worm will not be able to grow a new head or the rest of its vital organs and will instead die.
Oh. Well, fucking somebody lied to me. Zoo books.
It wasn't me.
I'm gonna blame Zoo Books.
I was pretty sure. I'll blame Zoo Books. Fuck it. I'm on board. They're not a sponsor. Fuck them. So anyways. Yes. So starfish, no real brain, just a centralized nervous system.
Good to know.
Yes. So now, I mean, I guess it makes a difference. I don't think there's a lot of science going on here. I think there's a small amount of science going on here.
It's great, whatever it is.
It's great. Whatever it is, it made this book.
Yes.
And that is okay by me. All right, so nice Rachel sitting on her bed at home when mean Rachel starts demorphing on the floor from cockroach right in front of her. Nice Rachel was disgusted. Like, oh my God.
Ew.
Like, ew. And mean Rachel, when she's done demorphing, kicks nice Rachel to the floor. Get the fuck off my bed. This is bullshit. Nice Rachel is holding her Bobo bear and is now almost in tears. And this is just a teddy bear, which we find out later. And at this point, one of Rachel's sisters walks past and she's just like, Rachel, are you talking to yourself? And the nice Rachel's like, yeah. And then mean Rachel's like, yeah, what of it? And her sister's like, nothing, just tracking your level of insanity today.
Her sister's so sassy.
So sassy.
Oh, I love Jordan.
Oh, me too. I love them both. I love the sass, though. So then, Rachel's like continuing to discuss what's going on quietly amongst themselves. And it's a stunted conversation because neither of them can really hold a thought for very long, especially nice Rachel. She's like unable to really think anything through. So eventually nice Rachel mentions something about the mission, and mean Rachel's like, that's it, I'll go on the mission, because she's like, what do I do with my body? And nice Rachel's like, Jake said you have to stay home. And mean Rachel's like, I will overtake Jake and become the leader, for I am strong and the weak shall submit to the strong.
God.
I know. And then mean Rachel morphs and takes off, telling nice Rachel, "Do not sit on the bed while I am gone. I will know if you do." And then starts what is honestly the most horrific part of the book for me. And that is every time nice Rachel says, "Daddy."
Oh my god, I agree. No one should ever say daddy. That word is banned.
The only time I accept it, I have one exception, and
is it Griffin?
It's not Griffin,
okay.
Because I hate it when Griffin says "Daddy."
Daddy.
It is Daddy. It is Jack Whitehall, the British comedian. He has a travel show with his dad who gets mad. It's supposed to be a gap year trip that he's taking his dad on, but his dad only likes nice things and hates all foreign countries because he's like an old British man. And so when they check into the hostel, the dad realizes they're in a room with other people, and he leaves, and Jack Whitehall follows him out going, "Daddy! Daddy, come back! No! Daddy!" And that is the only exception.
Daddy.
Daddy. Because you're my daddy.
We can't get through a single podcast episode without mentioning McElroy's. Anyway.
Yeah, so nice Rachel writes down a note that says, "Call Daddy." I can't say, let's come up with a voice that I can use this entire time because I can't straight say this word. It's gross. Ugh. I think it's just gonna have to be Daddy.
Daddy.
The whole time. Okay, we're set.
Alright, we're good.
So, nice Rachel takes a moment. She's contemplating how this war is making mean Rachel strong, and nice Rachel is getting weaker.
Ugh.
And that soon means that mean Rachel will take over everything, and there won't be much of her left. And then nice Rachel's like, "Oh, write my note." And so she dials her dad's number into the phone. This is about when we cut to one of the weirder scenes in the book, where mean Rachel is flying into the night as an owl, monologuing about how she is the ruler of the night, the supreme flyer.
Shut the fuck up!
She's like Visor 3.
Okay, you literally just said everything I was feeling while reading this. I'm like, she sounds like Visor 3. She sounds like the Helmicrons. Like, I cannot take... Yeah. She sounds like Invader fucking Zim. I cannot take her seriously.
Yes. And I... Like, that's one of the funniest things. I hated it from the Helmicrons. Just, they are so annoying. Yes. But when Visor 3 does it, when Invader Zim does it, it's funny. And that's kind of like what I was imagining. Sure. It was like, she's just kind of funny when she does it. It's just... Because it's nuts.
It's absolutely, yeah. It's cartoony.
So it's so cartoony.
Like, I don't know.
It's like especially when in the scene coming up where she's like, "No, do not kill me. I do not wish to be killed. I'll destroy you." Like, she has no sense.
I'm sorry. I can't picture a 13-year-old girl talking like that, no matter how crazy she is. Like, it's just, the tone for me just like really, it threw me off a lot. Like, yeah. I love the scene coming up with the cat, and I have a lot to say about that. But, like, the way that Rachel's inner dialogue was just, like, upset me so much. Like, I just didn't buy it. I'm sorry, Kay Applegate.
I could see that for sure. And a lot of the parts that I found great didn't have to do necessarily with her inner dialogue.
Yeah.
But I loved when she would fly off the handle, that dialogue that would come out that was, like, so intense and like so not going to happen. Like, that was the best part. Like, it was so good.
Like, I'm fine with all of her actions. It's just her inner dialogue that's bothering me.
Yeah, some of that is a little much.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah, but it's still good. This part, okay, so this next part hit me so good. And I'm gonna let you tell me your feelings first, and then I'm gonna tell you why I loved it so much. So, Rachel is off towards the Buyers Research Institute.
The Dallas Buyers Club.
The Dallas Buyers Club. I don't know what that is. Is that a casino?
It's a movie, I guess.
Oh.
That's all I thought of whenever I read
Buyers Research Institute.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. So she's going there to do some damage. She spots a tabby cat below her hunting and decided this kill would be the warm-up kill. This would be my prequel. This is my amuse-bouche to the bloodbath ahead. Oh, God. So she aimed and swooped in, And she's a second away from getting this cat and squishing its head in her talons. And then the cat jumps sideways, and she realizes it was hunting a mouse. The mouse spotted her and looked up at her and alerted the cat that she was there. And then the cat jumped out of the way. So Rachel's blood just boils at this cat and this mouse. She is so angry. She wanted that kill. She's in such a rage, and it boils out of her like a fucking volcano. She actually loses control of her body and tumbles to the ground, wings and legs flailing, and she is just screaming. And she screams until the rage leaves her body, and there is only a small amount of fear left. And then she's like, not one to let setbacks get in the way. I'm gonna keep going, and heads off towards the Byers Research Institute.
Okay. So.
Tell me your feelings.
Okay, so this isn't the first time this happens, but I didn't know that. So all I read at first was, wow, Rachel doesn't kill a cat, and now she's throwing a big-ass hissy fit on the ground.
Yes. Yeah.
But because this happens again later, and now that I'm, like, reliving it now, I'm just like, holy shit. Wow. It doesn't have the same emotional impact right now as it does later. Yeah. So it just kind of seems, like, weird at this point, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I'm trying to put myself in that position into, like, being so mad that your blood is just boiling and you completely lose control, and, like, people start, like, punching walls or kicking things or whatever. So I'm, like, yes. I'm trying to put myself in that. Like, I don't usually get that angry, so it's hard for me to, like, put myself in that position. But I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I'm in that position. My heart rate is elevated right now. Like, I know that so well. Like, this is one of the things that I relate to. And not so much now that I'm, like, an adult. But when I was, like, a teenager, I know that exact position of, like, this is going to sound weird, but have you ever felt so mad that it actually, like, your temperature rises, you feel so angry, and you're like, if anything came at me right now, I would fucking destroy it. Like, I'm so mad that nothing can fuck with me in this moment.
Yeah.
That's, like, it's something that I relate to so much because I'm like, I know that feeling, and I know, like, getting so mad that you want to punch a wall or punch a door, like, you know. I don't know. I've been there more than once.
Sure.
And, like, it just resonates with me so much. Okay. And I'm like, I can call back those feelings now. So, like, I'm feeling myself starting to get, like, flush.
Oh, no.
And, like, my heart rate's going up. And I'm like, yes, I know this. Like, I don't know.
Scream into a pillow.
I get into it. See, I've never found that
helpful
to be helpful. Yeah.
What's helpful?
Walking for a long time in the night. Yeah.
I feel like Rachel just got so worked up that she just kind of freaked out.
Lost her shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, if you had no other emotions or few other emotions to buffer that,
yes.
Can you imagine, like, the spiral of rage she would be in?
And she's just all emotion. Like, even as a complete person, she mostly relies on emotion to express herself. Yep. And, yeah, I can't imagine just reacting any other way.
No. Ugh. And I loved that it wasn't, like, yes, it was like a temper tantrum the way it was described, but, like, it's so much pure rage. It's literally like, I have lost control.
Yeah, I'm incapacitated
everything.
by this.
Exactly. I'm incapacitated with rage.
It's the maddest I've ever been.
Yes. So, I don't know. There's something about that rage that just every time I'm like, I know this. Like, yeah. This is familiar to me. Not the older I get, the less it's been years.
Sure.
Since that's happened.
But I really like that you're telling me this because I feel like that's the mark of a really good author is to capture an emotion and having somebody really go like, oh, that's me. I've done that. Because, like, I personally don't relate to it, but the fact that you do is, like, I don't know. I feel like...
distressing.
No, it's not.
No, yeah, no, I totally know what you're saying with that.
It, like, validates it, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, this may not be my character trait, but it is something that happens to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite the feeling. The Valley Girl thing, though, it does not resonate with me.
Nor me. I was not also that person.
No. But you relate to Cassie more anyway, So me and Rachel, she lands at the Institute, and she's, like, scoping out the place, and it's kind of configured weird. She's so fast-paced, it's not really important. She realizes it's probably in the basement that all this shit's going down. So she's like, there's a lot of places to hide this thing, but, like, let's just wait it out for a second. So suddenly an alarm starts going off, and she's like, oh shit, my friends are in there fighting, and I'm missing it. So she's like, here's this big rig that's, like, parked in one of the loading docks, or near one of the loading docks. So she's like, hell yeah. It's transporting new cars, so it's one of those trucks that has, like, 6 cars balanced at, like, 45-degree angles onto the fucking thing. Yeah. So she's like, hell yeah. So she lands on the ground, goes to Grizzly. She gets into the cab of the truck, pulls the guy out, who's like, whoa, what the fuck? And he's, like, protesting. Well, she climbs into the cab of the truck. She lets the clutch go, which she's like, holy shit, I'm moving forward. Great. And she, like, starts rolling out of the way, hits the gas, turns this thing, which she's like, is very hard with ham-sized paws. She aims towards one of the loading dock doors, guns it, speeds right into the bay, and of course those things are like 5 feet of fucking concrete at the bottom, right? It's not like a ramp that you can, like, go in and come out of. There's a hard stop of cement. So she slams the cab of the truck into that thing. She, like, hits the steering wheel, gets halfway out the windshield. The car's on top, whatever's, like, holding them down, lets go because it wasn't meant for this. And those cars start slamming through this big door that, like, you know, the big doors that roll up so they can move shit in there. Cars just start slamming through there and, like, crashing it open. And Rachel's like, oh, it takes more than a truck accident to stop a grizzly. So she, like, climbs out of this truck, even though, like, the steering wheel's in her chest and she's all kind of fucked up. And then she's like, oh, hey, look, a silver Mercedes-Benz. Cut to nice, Rachel.
Oh, no.
I loved that foreshadowing so much. It was like, why even bother cutting it? We all know how this is about to go down. But anyways, nice Rachel calls her dad. Her daddy. And luckily she can't hold a conversation to save her fucking life.
Oh my god, it was so painful to read.
I hated it.
All the conversations with her dad, I'm just like, oh my god, fucking punch her.
I wanted to punch her, and I feel like my integrity as a note writer here is very compromised because I could not be bothered to write down what had just happened.
Yeah, it's garbage, basically.
It's just straight garbage. She's like, Daddy, something's bothering me. And he's like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I can't tell you. And he's like, is it drugs?
You've already failed. Like, die.
I know. Already failed. And she's like, I took 2 Motrin. Oh, no, it's not drugs. And he's like, is it boys? Your mom can talk to you about boys. And Rachel's like, oh, how did you know? But one's an alien. And her dad's like, oh, that's okay. My housekeeper's an alien. She does a great fucking job. And Rachel's like, what? Oh you know an alien?
I mean, it's like kind of funny. Like, everything her dad has to say is really funny to me, but everything she says, I'm just like, shut up, though.
Yeah, her dad he's hilarious.
He's rolling with it pretty well, but he's like, ugh, I felt so bad for him.
I hated her so much. I didn't even feel bad for her dad. I was just like, fuck you, stop talking. So, yeah, so he's like, yeah, she's from the Ukraine. She has a great job. And then she's like, oh, that kind of alien. Well, we learned about the new Soviet Union and then something about new and old. And why did you call it alien?
Space cadet. Exhausting.
I mean, we know why she's a space cadet, but fucking still. So she's like, I would be breaking a terrible rule if I told my dad everything over the phone. So she's like, can you come over tomorrow? And then she's going to tell him everything the Animorphs knows and about the entire fucking war.
No, honey, no.
So her dad's like, yeah, I'll be there. And then they hang up, and her dad calls right back, and Rachel's mom answers the phone, and all Rachel can hear is them arguing about Rachel being on drugs. Yeah.
Which is awkward, because Naomi's like, unlike you, I see her every day. And it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, I would know if she were on drugs.
Divorce fallout, yay.
But guess who never becomes a major player in this entire book?
Naomi. She's too busy being lawyer of the year.
She is lawyer of the century at this point.
She's the ultimate lawyer.
Lawyer supreme.
Lawyer god.
The goddess of lawyers.
Lawyers.
She's a powerful, beautiful goddess woman of the law.
Someone should do a revamp of the Animorphs, but it's just the adventures of all the parents.
Oh my god. And like how they're like moderately concerned about their kids, but their mundane day-to-day shit takes over when yes. Rachel hasn't been home for dinner in 3 weeks, but I have a big case tomorrow. Oh, god damn. And then Cassie's parents, that's who we should follow. They're so cute.
I want that. And we just
They're
got to know Jake's dad in the last book. I don't know. I like
and how sweet he is.
And Marco's dad's great.
And he'd be such a goof.
Oh my god. I need this. Somebody write this fan fiction, please.
Yeah, I would enjoy that a lot.
Oh
man. Except Tobias' family. That would be really depressing. That could be like the gritty part of the show that provides This is already a show in my head. I'm already casting
You jumped the gun.
I've jumped the gun completely. We're beyond fan fiction. This is now for TV. Tobias' family could be the friction in there that, like, because we need that, right? We can't just have all the nice, fluffy, blah, blah, blah. We need, like, a problem to overcome. And that's Tobias' family. Oh, so anyways, that's the show.
Woo!
Anyways, me and Rachel finds out she can start a convertible by using her grizzly claw in the ignition. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
So she's now careening through the factory towards the sounds of alarms. And she only stopped once, and that was because at a testing station. Because remember, they're in a like consumer testing facility where they're running like all of the like stress tests on different things. There are a gene testing station where they're stretching out genes, and she was going to look for her favorite brand and just see how it was holding up. Yeah, so anyway, she couldn't see her favorite brand because her eyes weren't good enough. So she peeled off, and she spots some Hork-Bajir ahead. So she just fucking guns it and proceeds to mow them down, and they're going like cartwheeling over the car and like flipping into walls, and like she's careening around the things, fishtailing out, and like going up on 2 wheels around corners and shit.
Tokyo
and then she
drift.
hears she is Tokyo drifting. So she hears the unmistakable roar of a tiger, and she's like, "Now I'm gonna charge into battle."
Leroy
and so she does.
Jenkins.
And then we cut to nice Rachel, who is woken up by a kick to the ribs by mean Rachel. And mean Rachel is angry as all fuck. She starts screaming at nice Rachel. And Naomi just walks past her room and she's like, "Rachel, get off the phone and stop yelling. Your sister's asleep." Which I appreciated.
Thanks, Naomi.
But it actually works. Like, nothing else works. But mean Rachel, like, lowers her voice and starts whispering. Oh no, my mom still has control.
Oh no.
So she's like telling nice Rachel, she's like, "Can you believe Jake? What Jake said to me? What he said to me? He said that when I ran into this battle," and then like she derails to tell about like, by the way, in this battle there was this awesome moment where I got my arm chopped off and I used it as a club to beat a Hork-Bajir. And then Jake has the audacity to tell me I did something wrong. I did everything right. I saved their asses. Jake is on my kill list, which she has, by the way. And then Jake starts saying, like, the alarm wasn't, like, I only went in when the alarm was going off. And the alarm, it wasn't because of them. Jake says they set it to cause a distraction, but I don't believe that. That's bullshit. And nice Rachel's kind of like, well, I could see his point. And, like, mean Rachel glares at her. And she's like, "No, how dare Jake do that to you?" And then, like, after, like, several minutes of this kind of bitching, mean Rachel's like, "All right, well, I'm going to bed," and literally just like flips over and passes out. Like, nothing keeping her awake at night.
My emotions are rage and sleep.
Yes, well, those are my emotions too. That deeply resonates with me.
No.
But nice Rachel starts contemplating what would happen if mean Rachel decided she didn't want to share Rachel life, and then she's like, "I would be killed." So nice Rachel goes to school the next day, where she's comforted by the normality that is school, until Cassie comes up to her and is like, hey, there's a meeting tonight in the barn after school. And she's like, okay. And then Cassie's like, or we could go to the mall. And Rachel's like, oh, and then she's like, oh no, this is a trap. And then she's like, no, I guess we have to go to the barn. And Cassie's like, are you sure you don't want to go to the mall instead? And Rachel's like, no, we gotta go to the barn. So that was some weird test that I didn't quite understand why Cassie was doing it. I guess just to get a read on her personality.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Cassie left her, Marco comes up to her and they have their next class together. So they start walking down the hallway together. And Marco was suggesting, not at all subtly, that if Tobias has mean Rachel, then maybe he has a shot with nice Rachel. And nice Rachel is like, she doesn't bite in like to this narrative that Marco's creating. In fact, she's kind of like, wait, why wouldn't Tobias like me? And then Marco's like, oh, never mind. So let's ask her more benign questions about shit, until Rachel's like, I know you're testing me. I'm not stupid. I know Jake wants to know if I'm going to blurt out all of the secrets. But then her plan that she mentions in the next sentence is she's going to go to the airport to meet her dad to blurt out all of their secrets. So,
Whatever.
So, mean Rachel just went to the barn. She's not going to school. Fuck school. She doesn't need to know anything. She already knows everything. It's fine. So she's like going to the barn. She's gonna morph, fly, and spy things out. It's great. And my note here was, they both may be crazy in different ways, but you cannot say that they are ever not smart in their own way.
Sure.
So Eric was the first to show up, and he drops the hologram, and then asks Tobias, Jake, and Cassie. They all show up one by one. And once they're there, Eric informs them that the mission was failed, and the Yeerks will be moving the anti-morphing ray, and they're being super careful about it. They're going to load up 3 different trucks, send them 3 different directions, and 2 of those are a decoy, and 1 will have the actual ray on it. And then Eric goes, what's going on with the Rachels? And he's like very oddly hesitant. And so Jake's like, you know, we're dealing with it. Why? Why are you asking? What do you want to know? What's going on? And after Jake presses Eric for a minute, he's like, well, actually, I'm kind of jealous because Rachel's figured out this way about how she can go to war and then separate the 2 halves, and she can still go through all of this terrible shit, but then she just sends all of the shit of war to her evil twin, and she lives this, like, clean and squeaky happy life. And then Eric just kind of leaves after saying that with no real resolution.
Oh my god.
And yeah, and then Tobias drops that Axe said there may be a way to put them back together, maybe. And that's kind of the end of that.
Like, I took it to mean that he would want to get to the same thing, like separate his war side from his peace side. But also the way he explained how he perceived it seemed really inaccurate to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because they both have those memories and they both have to deal with it. It's just 2 different methods of dealing with it because of their personalities now.
Unless he meant that he wanted to separate his war half from his peace half so that his war half could help fight the war and fight the Animorphs. Like, at first I thought he just wanted to, like, forget all the bad stuff he did.
Yeah.
But now I'm wondering if it was, like, to perform as an additive so that he could live without the memories. I don't know. Because, like...
I mean, in a way, though, isn't he doing that with the Animorphs? Like, he himself, he tried to be both, and he couldn't do it. So now he's the one that sends the Animorphs into the shit because he can't deal with it.
Yeah.
So he's kind of already doing that, but just in a more asshole way than he's already doing it.
Oh, yeah. Eric.
I don't know. I definitely took it the first way that you said, where I was like, oh, he just wants to take his bad memories and kind of flush it into another version of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or to be able to say, I didn't do anything wrong, it was that guy.
Yeah, but I also feel like that's kind of a weird thing to bring up in that moment. Like, I can see that that having that internal thought just by himself, but the fact that he, like, brings it up to the... I don't know. It felt a little tactless to me. Anyway.
I mean, I don't think anyone has a particular amount of tact in books. Yeah. Well, so this is where shit starts to, I think, get dark.
Yeah, yeah. I was just looking at my notes.
Yeah, this is where they start talking about the plan about how to combine the Rachels back together, and Axe leads with there's a high chance that they both may die, and Cassie goes, that's unacceptable. And then Marco starts talking about how what's unacceptable is what they have now, because they can't do anything with these two halves. Like, it's unhelpful to them. And Cassie points out that the fissure is a lot deeper than just mean and nice. She thinks that nice Rachel has long-term thinking abilities but no short-term focus, and mean Rachel is all reaction but can't think of any long-term plan. And at this point, Marco just gets even madder, and he's like, well, we can't fucking use either. They're both useless to us. And that enrages mean Rachel, so she starts demorphing and threatening him, but she's demorphing from a fly. And they quickly realize she's been hiding in the barn, and, like, they're not particularly concerned about that, but they're concerned about the fact that she's falling to the floor as this morphing fly human mess, and, like, you know, her body's like grinding and reshaping and everything, and she's using this whole morphing process to just say, like, fuck you, Marco, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna destroy you, you don't call me useless, I'm not useless, blah, blah, blah. And then Axe steps over towards her because she's realized now she's left herself very vulnerable, and especially when she becomes human, Axe will be able to take her out. And so Axe, when he steps over, she starts going, don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me. And it just transitions back into, I'll fucking destroy you, Marco. Like, no breath in between, no thought connecting those two, just don't kill me, I'll destroy you.
Wow.
Great. And then nice Rachel shows up and just starts screaming at this fly monster with her own face in front of her. And then this turns even better, because nice Rachel can't stop screaming at the twisted monstrosity in front of her, and mean Rachel has now launched at Marco using her weak half-fly legs and used her giant fly proboscis to cover Marco's mouth and nose so he can't breathe.
Smoochies.
And Axe... well, yeah, that part.
Fatal smoochies!
Axe couldn't knock her out because she had managed to maneuver Marco between them, so Axe, like, can't, like, safely reach around Marco to get to her. And then her proboscis did eventually go away because she's still morphing, and Marco could breathe again, and so he tried to punch Rachel in the stomach, didn't really do anything. She tried to punch him back, but she had, like, half fly arms, so it didn't really do anything. And Jake launches at her, but she manages to dodge. And this is when Tobias tries to, like, flutter her down and just grab some of her hair to distract her. And Rachel shoots up an arm, grabs his leg, pulls him down to her body, and then she wraps an arm around his neck and says, if anybody moves, the chicken gets it.
Oh my god! No!
Yeah. This was bullshit. And she even, like, apologizes to him, like, sorry, love, but you knew this would have to happen, or something like that. Like, some bullshit fucking line. So everybody freezes, and Rachel starts gloating and declaring herself leader of the Animorphs and all that shit, and Jake's like, yeah, no problem, you're the leader. I didn't want to be the leader anyways, this is fine. But he's kind of creeping closer to her, and she's, like, just going on and on about how it was so easy. She didn't even have to morph, and she knew how to get the better of him, this blah, blah, blah. She's going on, and when Jake gets close enough, he launches at her and punches her in the face, and the others all jump on her to restrain her limbs, and Tobias falls to the floor and then flutters up to the rafters, and the others all work to restrain her, as nice Rachel turns away crying and saying, this isn't me, I am not her. So... it was really distressing.
Yeah. Like, it's another a reason of, she's just so out of control. And, like, the fact that they're, like, holding her down while she's, like, thrashing and screaming and having another one of her rage fests. Like,
yeah.
And Ditzy Rachel's just looking at her like, holy shit. It's just,
yeah.
It's just tragic at this point.
It is. And there's another point coming up where I think we might get into that a little bit more. Because there's an excellent line that I want to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. Any more thoughts?
No.
Or shall I continue? Okay. So me and Rachel, after she calms down, they just kind of let her go. Because they're like, we don't know what to do with her. Like, they can't contain her or anything, so they're just like, go home, fuck you, I guess. And she storms past her sister and then tears open the door to her room and starts kicking anything she can find. She's pulling her bed sheets off. She's throwing shit around, just whatever she can to destroy the space. And she realized, like, Cassie's right. She really can't think ahead. She's trying to figure shit out, and she just can't. It's like the future wasn't there or wasn't possible. Like, she just can't focus on it. And that made her more angry. And then she notices a note in purple pen on her calendar. And the first note is, call Daddy, followed by Daddy, flight 545, gate 17. And that's the moment she was like, my twin is going to betray me. I'm gonna go kill someone.
My twin.
So yeah, she morphed, flew out of there. Nice Rachel was, like, at the airport in, like, a restaurant eating a croissant that she didn't even want, but she had to order it because they don't just, like, let you sit there. So she orders a coffee for her dad. She knows he'll want one.
God. Do you remember when random people could just go past security into the airports?
Yes.
Ugh.
That's how Love Actually happened. Oh, wait, there was security. Never mind. That was the point. Yeah.
God.
So anyways, she sees her dad, and she squeals, Daddy! And runs over to him. And he gives her, like, a kiss and a hug, and then asked about coffee, which the waitress was bringing over because she remembered. And then he's like, so what's going on? And Nice Rachel tries to discern if he's a yerk by asking him repeatedly, are you one? Are you one? Are you one? You're one? You're not one. Are you one?
I feel so
And her
bad.
dad is like, am I one what?
Smack.
Like, he was so mad. Right. And then she's like, promise not to be one. And he's like, I can't do that if I don't know what it is.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. And then he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then she starts doing this whole, this enraged me more than anything else. It's not even in my notes. That's how mad I am. She was like, oh, poor daddy. Daddy couldn't have possibly known.
Oh my God.
Fuck you.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm so mad.
Fuck off. Sorry, I just hate that. I hated it. I hated it so much. And she's supposed to be the planner.
Yeah. There's a couple aspects of Nice Rachel that I feel like I've never seen before, so it felt really weird to experience them now. And this was one of them.
But how much of it is tempered by Mean Rachel? Because, like, this isn't, like, traits she already had separated. These are, like, the extremes of what she has inside of her. So, like, she's never done shit that Mean Rachel has done. She's never done shit that Nice Rachel has done. She's somewhere in the middle of these two.
Yeah.
And, like, even their fashions, like, Nice Rachel started wearing, like, mini skirts and, like, dresses everywhere. Yeah. And, like, Mean Rachel started wearing only Timberlands and leather. I don't know. But anyways, she's about to tell her dad everything. And then she notices something over her shoulder, or over her dad's shoulder, and it's Mean Rachel glaring at her. And Mean Rachel kind of jerks her head, and Nice Rachel bursts into tears and is like, I have to go to the bathroom, and leaves. As soon as she's gone, Mean Rachel sits down at the table backwards on a chair because, hello, teens.
Hello there, fellow kids.
And then she's like, to sup. Because that's an annoying thing that happened in the 90s. And her dad's like, what the fuck? Are you in a cult? Which made me laugh because the whole My Favorite Murder thing. Because, you know, one of their main slogans is, you're in a cult, call your dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
That's
awesome.
great.
So I was, like, laughing my ass off at this part. But anyways, yeah, he's like, are you in a cult? And she's like, I'm in the cult of me.
Whatever that means.
I don't know. What does it mean?
This whole scene, I just blech.
It is blech, for sure. She's like, I demand to be served now. And her dad's like, dude, stop it. And she's like, waitress, leave the ugly old woman. Serve me because I am the strong. The strong should be served before the weak.
I hated
Fuck
both
off,
of
Rachel.
Them. I hated both of them, especially in this scene.
Yeah. Yeah. This was probably the most cringeworthy
It's
scene.
so cringy.
It is very cringy. And then her dad's like, Rachel, stop doing it. Stop. What are you doing? And he tries to put his hand on her, and she's like, I will stab him with a fork and see what happens. But then, this was, I don't know if it was better or worse, but he was like, Rachel, like, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with you, but I want you to know that I love you very much. And she's like, ha, I wish you did, or something like that. She's like, no, you don't. Like, just doesn't fucking believe him. And this just keeps getting worse. So she's noticed now that nice Rachel is trying to sneak around behind her, and mean Rachel's like, is she trying to kill me? Is she trying to attack me? Blah, blah, blah. And her dad tries to, like, say again, like, Rachel, you know that I really, like, I love you. And she's like, shut up, I'm trying to figure something out. And then her dad, I guess, is so shocked that he does shut up. And Rachel realizes nice Rachel's trying to sneak around behind her, so she's like, food fight, and grabs the croissant and, like, whips it at somebody at a nearby table. And it didn't start a food fight, but it did scare off her wimpy twin. So. Okay, here's the part where we're, I think, gonna have some discussion. Some intense discussion. Okay. So, nice Rachel's back at the barn with Cassie, who isn't very nice to her at all. Like, Cassie does not seem to like her. And then Tobias flies in and she greets him pretty warmly, and he just says hi. And nice Rachel was, like, really hurt by this, and she accused them of liking mean Rachel more. And they're like, no, we don't like her more. She's fucking insane. We just want the old Rachel back. And then nice Rachel asked them, you can't ever expect me to want her back inside of me, can you? And at that moment, Jake and Marco walk in. But, like, I think this is a really important moment.
Yeah. Like, Rachel's expressed before that she's kind of scared of that part of her. But to have it be literal, and to have nice Rachel be like, I never want her back inside of me, is so powerful to me.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And then also to have the other Animorphs not respond to her. Like, even Cassie not say, like, I see where you're coming from. It's like they've all gotten to this point where they're like, but you have
like,
to.
Your functionality is more important than your feelings.
Yes.
It's so powerful. I hate it.
It is so powerful, and especially because it's not like Jake and Marco were there to lead the conversation. She said this to her best friend and her boyfriend, and they said nothing back to her.
I mean, but these are the people that are closest to her and that love her the most, so maybe they just feel it more. They feel like not only do they want her functional, but they want her whole again. I don't know. Because they love that version of Rachel so much. I don't know. Like, they don't...
I mean, that could be true.
They don't like either of these individual Rachels. So I feel like they've lost more, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that could totally be true. But I can't...
But yeah, you're right. It is weird that... Yeah.
I think it's weird. And I think especially... Well, I don't want to say especially from Cassie either, but I just see her being the one that would gravitate towards that more.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, so later on, a little bit spoilers, like, Jake has to help Rachel through some stuff, and you're right, I'm really surprised it wasn't Cassie trying to be, like, the one to, like, comfort her and get her through things. Yeah. And to put her in a safe space of mind.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And nobody does. Nobody bothers to do that in this. I don't know if bothers is the right word, but nobody does that for her in this book. And the last book was all about them being there for Jake, them comforting Jake, them trying to do what they could for Jake. And then when Rachel has this moment where she can't handle anything going on, they're like, well, fuck. Yep. I don't know. I just thought it was really...
Yeah. That's interesting.
Weird. Yeah. And I thought throughout this entire book, and I know that this nice Rachel and mean Rachel are, neither of them are their friend Rachel that they love and all that shit. But Cassie was so cold throughout this entire book. So, I don't know. I just didn't like that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Oh, no.
This is what brought it home for me, because I just couldn't imagine Cassie, who has such big feelings for every living
She was
thing,
nicer to a Yerk than she was to her best friend.
Exactly.
Fuck!
And Rachel's standing there going, why don't you like me?
Oh, no!
I'm here. I want you to like me. And they're just like, well, you're not my friend.
Oh my god. I did not understand the gravity of the situation until now. Oh no.
I was so upset by this.
No. Oh.
Yeah.
I hate this.
I hated this scene a lot. So I made a note to talk about this. Yeah. It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's really brutal, and I think unnecessary. Yeah. And also that Jake scene later pisses me off as well, but for different reasons. And not really kind of pertain to Rachel, but not really. Anyways, shall we continue?
Yes.
Nice Rachel tries to leave at this point because she's like, if nobody wants me here, then I will go home. And then she gets scared and she's like, but will someone walk me home? And Jake just like is like rubbing his head like, oh my fucking God. And he's like, listen, we need you to go on the mission tonight. And nice Rachel's like, no, I can't do that. I absolutely will not do that. And Jake is like, it doesn't matter what you want. You have to go. Because this mission requires 6 people minimum. And he's like, you don't have to fight. You just have to be a backup if something goes wrong. And that's about the time that crazy Rachel reveals herself, which they all kind of expected.
I was the turkey all along.
That's really like what happened here. Like she's demorphing from, I don't even think they say what animal she's demorphing from. She's just demorphing in a stall. Like she said, no, I will be the one to do the mission. Oh my God. Gross. And like she's literally just like screaming demorphing like, nah. And everybody except for Cassie goes to battle morph. And once Rachel is fully human, she runs out of there and starts beating Jake, who is a tiger, in the head with her bare hands. Like, she's just rage, like, punching his face and his shoulders and his head. And, like, every once in a while, Jake would kind of, like, swat down one of her hands. But she's just trying to punch this tiger. And Jake is literally like, this is exactly why you can't do the mission. You're trying to attack a fucking tiger.
I just... like... Again, it's something that could be very ridiculous and funny, but punching Jake to the point of exhaustion, it kind of reminded me of Pokemon, the first movie. You know, when Pikachu's fighting its clone, and the clone's just, like, crying and, like, slowly punching it because it's so fucking tired. It was just very sad to me.
That was an extremely sad scene in Pokemon.
And then...
Yeah.
This is another moment where I say something and then Jake mentions it like a line later. I was like, this reminds me of David. Oh, hey, David.
Yeah. And he does say, like, we've dealt with this before. We can deal with you. And that's when Rachel goes nuts over the David thing. Which, by the way, no matter which Rachel we're dealing with, mentioning David and, like, saying we trapped him as a Nothlit, don't fucking say that to Rachel. Don't say that to Axe, because we didn't do shit. Yeah. Rachel and Axe did it.
Oh, like, God. I didn't even make that connection.
I got so mad when he did that. I was like, I literally was like, excuse me, we did nothing.
Oh, no. So you don't blame her for going crazy and punching.
No, well, I mean, that was stupid. He is a tiger. Don't do that logically. Yeah. But, like, it absolutely was something to get her angry and completely out of her mind with rage.
Oh, my God.
Like,
so you think he did that as a tactic? Oh, my God.
I think he might have, yeah.
Oh, no, Jake. Oh.
Yeah, that's right. Jake, you fucking manipulator, this whole goddamn book? Fuck that.
Jake is a manipulator.
Yeah, he's getting very, very, like, I say bad. Very good at manipulation. He's getting very bad.
Yeah.
As a person.
He's turning into a very bad person.
Yeah, he's turning into somebody that I don't really respect a ton.
Oh, no. Ouch.
I don't know. Okay, so here's the other thing, though. I think, was very good at subtly manipulating her here. He is very bad at manipulating nice Rachel.
Yes.
So that was interesting to me. So, all signs point towards angry Rachel is in control.
Ooh. What's a twist?
Yeah, so this is, shit's going down. And they compare Rachel to, mean Rachel, they compare to gunpowder. They're like, you are completely out of control. With loose gunpowder, everything just blows up. There's no controlling it. The only way to use this sort of rage effectively is to control it and use it precisely. And you are just like a powder keg. You are out of fucking control. And then nice Rachel objects and says, well, I can't go because I can't morph. And Jake goes, it's your duty. And this finally stirs something deep in nice Rachel. She has this very deep sense of duty. And she's like, it's fucking insane that me and Rachel didn't get this and I did. But she's like, I have to do it and I have to go. So mean Rachel then steps up and goes, well, if nice Rachel gets to go, then I'm going to go too. And Jake goes, oh, okay, you can go too. And mean Rachel's like, haha. And then Axe just whips her across the head with the flat of his tail blade and knocks her out.
Oh my god. Oh, thank you, Axe.
Yeah, this was pretty fucking good. So yeah, he knocks her out, and Jake says, if she follows us into this mission, treat her like an enemy.
Ooh.
And then he starts, I know, right? Big fucking words, Jake. So he starts laying out the assignments. He's like, okay, Marco and Tobias, you're together. Axe and Cassie. Rachel, you're with me, and they need to head out now. And nice Rachel's like, well, this is because Jake doesn't trust me, but whatever, let's go. And then Cassie makes an observation. She's like, oh, I thought the sense of duty was in this part of Rachel. And Rachel replies, and I thought you were my friend.
Oh! Dabs!
Dabs. Yeah.
Oh,
fucking yeah.
Oh my god. I don't like any of this.
No. And like, what a great way to articulate the fact that Cassie has not been acting like herself in this book.
I hate everything about this.
I know. And I know in every book I'm always like, I don't really feel the Cassie-Rachel friendship. But like, for real, this was bullshit. So they all start to morph. Rachel's going to Owl, and she closes her eyes to go to Owl. She can kind of feel it happening, and then she makes it to Owl, but she still doesn't open her eyes. So Cassie's like, you're done. You can do it. So she finally like opens her eyes, and then she's like, because it was all bright. She's like, what the fuck? And then Tobias is like, it's time to fly, and Rachel's like, I fucking hate the word duty. Like, fuck this. It's a stupid concept, stupid word. She doesn't want to fly. But fly they do. And nice Rachel distracts herself by starting to contemplate herself and her own core of darkness. And she's like, I've always known that there was something more than, to mean Rachel than just, the brave sort of side of her and the dark sort of side of her. She knew that the courage for battle came from her, but she didn't ever know kind of how deep that ran within her, like how dark she was actually getting. Yeah. And then she tried to kind of imagine everybody else and like what they would be if they had split. So she decides like, oh yeah, Jake and Axe, they for sure have a dark version. She's like, Cassie, no, she may have like the tiniest bit of rottenness in her, but like nothing like this. And then with Tobias, she's like, oh, he's already part hawk, part boy. He's split the same as he is now. And that was interesting.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like she's talking about like kind of good and evil, kind of. And Tobias isn't really good and evil. He's just boy and hawk.
Yeah. And I had the same thought, and I was trying to like relate it to, are they saying like the hawk part is all evil and the boy part's all good? Like,
that's stupid. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're not at all. I think it's probably just to relate that duality that we should be paying attention to. Yeah. But it came off as weird. You're right. At the end of that, like, who's good and who's bad and blah, blah, blah. Like, and also she didn't mention Marco at all.
Yeah.
She just had that very obvious fissure, and it could be Marco killing.
I literally just thought about that. She did not mention Marco. She was so quick to jump on my baby boy Axe and Nothing about Marco.
Yeah, which was like, what the fuck? Like, Axe, I mean...
Talk about duty, my boy.
Yeah. He would have, I think, he'd be up there with Cassie for not really having a dark
side.
Like,
he had to do that shit to not Visor 3, Chapman in the last book, but he fucking hated it. And I'm so indignant.
I don't agree with that assessment of Axe at all. Like, sure, all of us have some shitty parts of us. Everybody does. But, like, I don't think Jake and Axe are on the same level of shittiness.
No. Not even close. And Axe is the epitome of duty.
Yeah, he is. Like, even most of the shit he does that would be considered, like, gray area or bad is simply out of a sense of duty and following his prince. And that's something else. That's not, like, necessarily darkness.
Yeah. I love him so much.
Yeah, me too.
He never gets enough credit. Damn it.
He never does. He's always shortchanged in every book.
I'm so mad my blood is boiling.
I hope you spiral out of control and lose control of your limbs right now. Oh, man.
Christ.
But
bullshit.
Anyways, it's total bullshit. So, I think this is kind of going to go pretty fast from here, even though I have a lot of notes, because we won't, I think, have much to talk about until the very end. Yeah. But, yeah, so they're flying out there, they get distracted, blah, 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 we go through the whole thing about, like, Jake, so she's distracted until they get to the place where they're going, the business, whatever, testing facility where they were before, and, they are just like, okay, split up, we can't look like an owl convention, okay, great, so they're hanging out there, observing everything, and Marco finally sees that there's 3 trucks ready to go, they're coming out right now. And that's about when Jake says, all right, we have to go land on the trucks. And Rachel's like, oh, no, I cannot do that. And Jake's like, well, too bad. And dives. And she follows him. And they're diving towards this truck and, like, screaming the whole way. She's like, I do not want to do this. No. She's like, I'm scared. And Jake's like, yeah, I'm scared too, but just focus and let the owl do the flying once you get close. Just like, you see that strip, pretend it's a mouse. It'll be fine. And she's freaking out, but sure enough, the owl took over to help her land it, but she tumbled anyways, caught a single talon into like a screw and was able to hold on, but barely, and Jake's like, okay, start to demorph. And she freaks out again, but sure enough, she does it, and her skin starts to stick a little better, and she feels more secure. And then Jake goes, okay, you have to go cockroach. And she freaks the fuck out. She's like, absolutely not. So Jake's trying to talk her through this, and he's like, there's a tunnel coming out, you have to morph now to not be killed by this tunnel, because there's not enough clearance for you. And he's like, just close your eyes and do it. And Rachel tries to focus and morph, but her head is just spinning. She's terrified. She can't choose if she wants to be killed by a tunnel or if she wants to morph a cockroach. Like, those two ends are same for her.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. Fuck. Like, the fact that she literally, like, considered dying instead of doing something scary is alarming.
Well, it is, and it scared her a ton, too, because one of the things she mentions is, like, since I've split, this is my reality now. I will always be scared of morphing, and if I keep fighting with these guys, I will always be this scared every single time.
Yeah.
So she's, like, really committed to that sense of duty, but also she's like, I don't know if I can handle this long term.
Yeah. Like, oh, my God.
So it's insane. But she tries it anyways. She starts to focus, and she does start to go to cockroach. She closes her eyes, and everything's kind of okay because she can't really tell what's going on until a new set of legs comes shooting out of her chest. And she goes to scream, but she doesn't have vocal cords or a real mouth. So it's just like her mandibles moving. And Jake just keeps saying, it's okay, keep going, keep going. And it does occur to her that Jake may be lying about the bridge, but she is too far gone. She completely checks out. In her mind, she's at home with a comforter pulled up to her chin and safe. And then finally Jake says, you're done, good job. And she realizes, like, oh, he must have said this a ton of times, and I am just realizing now he's been talking to me. So she's like, did we make it through the bridge? And Jake just stays silent. So she's like, well, that's about right. The mission always comes first for Jake. Yes. That's bullshit. On Jake's part, that is such big bullshit. I just got really upset that Jake manipulated her here.
Yeah.
So, that's about the time when they pass from a colder air into somewhere warmer, and Jake's like, well, this is odd. And he starts to say demorph, but it's cut off by a hissing sound, and Rachel is knocked out. Rachel wakes up. She's trapped in a small box. She starts trying to demorph, and she's screaming, and Jake just says, don't demorph, you'll die. And Rachel realizes she's trapped as a cockroach in a tiny box, and she just starts screaming. We cut to mean Rachel. She snaps awake, immediately enraged. She was gonna go after them and kill her mewling nitwit of a twin. She was enraged. She morphs to owl and flies out into the night, trying to get as much altitude as possible because her only chance here is pure luck. She has no idea where they're going, and she doesn't have the mental capacity to figure it out. She rages for a while, feeling that blinding, crippling rage come on, when she spots something. A truck, with herself morphing a cockroach on top of it. So she follows this truck as best she can, but of course it's driving at highway speeds, so it's getting away from her. She does catch up to it when it turns onto a little ramp, and that allows her a few seconds, but not enough, because then the truck starts speeding down another highway. So she's trying to follow it. It's almost out of sight when in the long view she sees brake lights. She's like, fantastic. And she's like, my chance has come. And she's plotting this whole time how she's going to kill Rachel and Jake. And she's like, I'm going to tear off their legs and I'm going to eat them. And she's like, but something's bothering me. And then she's like, the tearing off the legs part, good. Eating them, something's not right here, but she can't figure out what it is.
Oh, God.
So she watches the truck pull into a building and just flies right in. Nice Rachel has now dissolved into just moaning and screaming in this cube that they've trapped her in. And Jake is trying to calm her down, but he is failing miserably. He's like, remember, we've been in tough spots before. Remember the dolphins with all the sharks, and remember the president when we were in the column. And
remember the good times.
Right. He's just like bringing up all of these missions that they've been on and saying like,
not helping.
It's not. She's freaking out even more. Like, he's like trying to say like, we've always made it out. And she's like, oh, it's just getting worse.
Ugh.
So then when Rachel starts screaming, like actually screaming in his head, he orders her to stop. So she does. He orders her to look around and see if there are any Hork-Bajir nearby. And she's like, okay. And she's like kind of stammering and stuttering through it. But she's looking around and she sees some shapes. She's like, yeah, those are Hork-Bajir, I guess. And then she sees a red glowing light and realizes it's a countdown timer. And then she just starts moaning again. And Jake's like, listen, they don't even know that they have Andalites or Animorphs. He's like, they don't know anything. They don't know how long we've been in Morph. They don't know if we're even Andalites. They know nothing. Like, this is just a ruse. They're just hoping and guessing. And it doesn't help. Rachel is just moaning in her own head and screaming. Like, he can't say anything to help her. And then, all of a sudden, her cube was grabbed and sliced. She was tumbling through the air. Cut back to Mean Rachel. Mean Rachel saw the Hork-Bajir and was like, I have a Hork-Bajir morph. Fuck this. So she joins them. And she's just, like, hanging out next to them, like, da-da-da-da-da. And they're all just standing there. And Rachel's like, this is boring. And the other Hork-Bajir's like, it won't be once Visitor 3 arrives. And she's like, okay. And then cuts out his fucking throat.
What the fuck?
And then she turns to the second Hork-Bajir, who is stunned, and cuts his guts open so they spill across the floor. The third Hork-Bajir managed to trip some kind of alarm before Rachel also spilled his guts all over the floor.
Stop this!
I know. And then Mean Rachel's just like, I'm going to slice all of these bug boxes open because I'm going to find my cousin and my twin and kill them. So she's like slicing all the boxes open, and at some point more Hork-Bajir file in, so she's like going to attack them. She manages to step back and crunches a bug, and she goes, I hope that wasn't one of them because I want them to know that I'm the one that killed them.
What the?
I know.
It's like...
nuts.
I feel like rage is usually provoked. This is not. This is just psychopath.
Yeah.
It's really disturbing.
Psychopathic killing, for sure.
Yeah, this is like, I get off on killing. Mm-hmm. I love blood. What the fuck? Just deeply upsetting for a 13-year-old girl.
They weren't kidding when they said she has a darkness inside of her.
Yeah, but this is like...
I know, it's a lot. So then before her, Visor 3 appears, and she starts to threaten him, and then he just starts monologuing back, and he was like, I'm going to break you. I know the Andalite mind. I'm going to play on your severe fears of Andalite claustrophobia. So then the walls start, like, moving in to crush her, and, Rachel's just like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to destroy you. Blah, blah, blah. And Visor 3 is like, call me when you start freaking out. So that's where he leaves the room, and it's just like Star Wars crushing her slowly. So then Nice Rachel is aware that she's freed, and she's terrified. She's terrified of being a cockroach. She's also terrified to demorph. So she's like, which of these two fates is worse? She's like, I'll demorph. It'll be fine. And as she comes out, she sees Mean Rachel, who has pointed out their current predicament of the walls coming in. And Mean Rachel's like, I'm going to kill Visor 3, but I can't get at him. And Nice Rachel's and Mean Rachel, like, start this whole dialogue, and it's like them problem solving together, where they're like, oh, Visor 3 might see us, and then Nice Rachel's like, well, I don't think he can, because he would have come in here if he saw us morph to human, like, then he'd know we weren't Andalites, and Mean Rachel's like, yeah. And, like, as they start working through this, Mean Rachel realizes, like, I can't come up with a plan. So she asks Nice Rachel, what do I do? And Nice Rachel is horrified that Mean Rachel is asking her. But she does come up with a plan. So, Nice Rachel morphs to Hork-Bajir and calls Visor 3. And she goes, Visor 3, these blades are good. Almost as good as my Andalite blades. And Visor 3 goes, oh, and you think you can cut your way out of here, do you? And she's like, no, but I can cut my own throat. And just like that, the walls back up, the things lower. I know, right?
I implore you to reconsider.
I do implore you to reconsider. So everything recedes. There's an army of Hork-Bajir and Visor 3 standing at attention. Mean Rachel, meanwhile, goes out into Flymorph and starts flying around in her crazy loopy way, while Visor 3 and Nice Rachel have a standoff where they're both threatening each other. Eventually, Mean Rachel lands on Visor 3's head, and that's about the time that Nice Rachel is, like, running out of steam and can't really carry on a conversation because of who she is.
Because of who she is as a person.
Yeah, exactly. And then Mean Rachel's like, Visor 3, I'm in your head. And he's like, oh my god, there's two of them. And she's like, I'm in your ear canal. I can almost see the yerk in your brain. All it would take would be me demorphing to blow your brains out. What do you think would happen then? And Visor 3 was silent for 2 full minutes until he goes, you! And that's it. That's all he can come up with. You! More silence, and then he's like, oh, well, what do you want? And this is where Mean Rachel, like, messages Nice Rachel and is like, what did we want? What did we say we wanted? I forgot. And Nice Rachel's like, safe passage out. And so within 5 minutes, they're running away, completely safe. And once they make it further into the woods, Nice Rachel starts breaking down and demorphing and crying over Jake and saying, like, he was such a good boy. And then Jake's like, I'm right here. And he's like, it turns out I was the cockroach all along. He's like, Mean Rachel stepped on me, and then I just made my way over to Nice Rachel to hitch a ride. And he's like, I basically just needed the two of you to figure out that you needed each other to work together to get the fuck out of here. And, like, Nice Rachel's immediately like, I see what you mean. And Mean Rachel's like, fuck you for not saying you were with us. Fuck this. Fuck her. I don't need anything. And Jake, like, this is another one of my favorite parts, because Jake's like, listen, I need both of you to agree to Axe's plan to do this. And Mean Rachel is still refusing and, like, you know, getting, like, upset with him. And Jake gets frustrated, and Jake goes full Shia LaBeouf, and he's just like, do it! Just do it! You just gotta do it! Like, repeatedly. It's amazing. So I was like, full Shia LaBeouf scene. I love it. So they cut back to the barn, as always. And Mean Rachel and Nice Rachel are sitting across from each other. They place their hands on each other's shoulders, and Marco starts saying, do you, Rachel, take the end? And somebody shuts him the fuck
Get
up.
out of here.
Seriously, they're like, Marco, fuck off. So they have their hands on each other's shoulders, and Axe tells them to begin acquiring each other at the exact same time. So Cassie counts to 3, and they begin. Then they nod to Eric, who steps in and surprises both of the Rachels with a massive jolt of energy. And Axe goes, morph each other now! And they're in, like, horrific pain and everything. And Nice Rachel's like, I don't think I can do it. But then she starts. And sure enough, this weird fucking scenario that Axe has created has them morphing and melding. And after a moment, they are together again. And Rachel blinks, confused, because she can feel, like, both parts of her together now. Oh. And they're like, Are you okay? Do you want to sit down? And Rachel's like, no. And Cassie goes, okay, well, if you want to talk, I'm here. I'm here for you. And she goes, thanks, Cassie, but then looks up at Tobias, and Tobias just says, let's go.
The two of you and the two of me. My heart, it broke.
That's this. How do you feel?
Distressed noises.
So, do you want to launch immediately into character ratings?
Sure.
All right, let's talk about Jake.
Oh my god. I thought he was a really good leader, but he was also a huge dick in this book. Yeah. Which kind of goes hand in hand sometimes. In my first read through, I liked him, but the more we talked about him, the more I'm like, wow, he was kind of harsh.
I liked him at some points, and at other points, I was like, wow, dude, you are going to some dark places. Like, I can see your line moving a little further on what you're willing to do.
Mm-hmm. But I loved, like, reading him and everything he did. And he was a very strong player in this book. So I will do a 3 for him. Doc, 2 points for likability.
Yeah, I'll follow along with your 3 as well. And the only thing I'll add to that, because I agree with everything you said, is I did like the points where he showed like how much this was wearing on him, that this was happening. Yeah. So I did appreciate that.
Yeah. Like, I thought he did the best with what he had.
Mm-hmm. I thought so too. So what about Tobias?
Not a super prominent player in this book. But he was good. Mm-hmm. He was a good boy. So 4, I guess. I'm
gonna go ahead and give him a 3 just for that scene that we talked about where I thought he would somehow be a bigger player in like the 2 different Rachels and trying to like find pieces
sure
and like help
that's
out.
A good point.
And I think he really failed.
That's a good point.
Especially for somebody who we didn't hear until the last 6th of this book that he struggled with the duality that she could relate to. You think he would know some tricks.
Yeah, okay, that's true. And honestly, the first read through, I thought that last line, the 2 of you and the 2 of me, was really strong. Mm-hmm. But upon talking about it, I don't know. It was only mentioned kind of once, and it didn't really quite fit with the context, so it seems less important to me now.
I think if it had have been, if we had seen echoes of it throughout the book and that was the culminating line, it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But everything in there was cut.
That's true. All right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like he wasn't...
I mean, you don't have to change
No, I know, but I think I gave Tobias a higher rating than Jake because I like Tobias a lot.
Yeah, I like personality-wise or character-wise, I liked Tobias better in this book.
Yeah.
Like, I hold Tobias to a higher standard of behavior than Jake, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Okay. I'm actually going to knock him down to 3.5. All of my criteria are completely arbitrary.
Every book it changes.
Yes.
What about Axe? The struggle is real.
5, the end.
5, the end. I could see 5, the end. I could be 5 the ended for Axe.
He's barely in this book, but he's my favorite, and I want to.
Yeah. He's barely in this book, but he does, like, when they're trying to dance around calling Rachel insane, he is the one that's, like, reckless and violent. Like, I like the, like, 4 to 5 lines he had in the book were all very good. So I'll 5 and him. Yep. Sure. So then what about Cassie?
I'm scared. I'm scared about the future of Cassie and Rachel. That whole, like, I thought you were my friend thing.
Yeah.
Oh, just ow.
Super agree with that.
I didn't really like Cassie in this book, honestly.
I'm giving her a fat old 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I did a thumbs down motion while I did that. So if that adds any weight to my 1, I would like that to be noted. Sorry. I didn't mean to, like, interrupt you with that character rating.
No,
I just could not.
Yeah. I'm kind of leaning around a 2 myself.
I was debating between a 2 and a 1, and then I just kept replaying in my head when the nice Rachel was like, just like, why don't you like me? I don't understand. And they were just like fucking bullies.
Yeah.
Like, she just was so awful to her.
So do you hold Cassie to a higher standard than Tobias in that moment? Because it was like we talked about, you expected, like, of all people, Cassie would be the one to be, like, nice to her.
I think it was because Tobias was more silent than mean, but Cassie was actually cold and actually, like, the one saying, no offense, we just want Rachel back. We don't want you.
Sure.
It just felt to me like Cassie had all of these chances to, like, try and get to know at least nice Rachel. Like, mean Rachel was off the fucking deep end. Like, yeah. I totally understand you can't connect with her because that's
the part of Rachel that scares her, right? She's mentioned that before.
Right. So you'd think when that part is removed that Cassie could relate to Rachel and see this is more like how she was before the war. This is more the Rachel that I knew. Yeah, she's ditzier. Yeah, she's not as quick. But she has that innocence that Cassie gravitated toward, and I think that Cassie should have been there for her more instead of betraying her, instead of trying to put her to tests that Cassie didn't even bother to do the normal thing when she's testing somebody of being their friend and trying to relate to them. She literally was like, I'm phoning it in today because I don't give a shit about this person. And I just hated that. And I don't think it was very much like Cassie at all. I think she's normally very compassionate and she's very caring towards everybody. And so I don't know why this sudden animosity towards her best fucking friend came into play.
I don't know. And I also, there was like that one moment where they said that the 2 Rachels might be able to merge together, but it's very likely that they'll both die. And she was like, that's unacceptable. Mm-hmm. But then it doesn't, that's not really backed up by the rest of her behavior in the book.
No, and when they finally go to do it, Cassie never has that moment. Like, when Jake had to die because Kryak said so, it was, like, earth-shattering to her. When they, like, the second time they're going through with this, instead of being like, oh my god, should we think about this? Like, this could be the end of my best friend. She was like, I'm fucking sick of these 2. Get them done with. Like, fuck, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was, like, so not backed up. And it was just so not like her as well. Which is really surprising because Applegate wrote this book.
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, I don't know. Let's move on. I'm sad.
Okay. Did you give her a rating?
Yeah.
2?
I kind of feel bad rating Tobias higher than her, but whatever, 2.
You can rate them the same. I won't hold it against you.
No. Marco.
Okay. Marco.
Marco's probably going to get a low rating from me.
Yeah, Marco deserves a low rating for all of those creepy fucking comments about dating one of the Rachels.
I expected maybe one joke from him, but it just kept happening and I didn't appreciate it.
I don't know. The one thing that it did strike me, this isn't Marco specific, but I loved the fact that, like, as much as nice Rachel originally was like, I like all the boys. All the boys are cute. Blah, blah, blah.
If Jake wasn't my cousin, gross.
Right.
By the way.
Which is so fucking weird. But, like, she did kind of remain loyal to Tobias throughout. Like, when they were like, oh, yeah, Tobias, like, you can be with me. And she's like, why wouldn't Tobias like me? Like, she, for as ditzy and airheaded as she was, she remained loyal to Tobias. And mean Rachel, for sure, remained loyal to Tobias.
Until she tried to kill him.
Until she tried to kill... Well, even then, she said, my love, before. You understand why I have to kill you.
Yeah.
You get it. Like, the other thing was she thought she was being nice a lot of the time when she would say really mean things. So...
Sure.
Like, that was brought up repeatedly throughout the book. So, I don't know. I liked that, and I hated how hard Marco tried, because it was, like, that duality for him of, like... Not only is he making creepy fucking comments, he's also not respecting a no.
Yeah.
So that's what I didn't like about him in this book.
Yeah, and also he didn't really do a lot.
He didn't really do anything. Rachel drove the truck this time.
Yeah, Rachel was the bad driver this time.
I mean, I guess I'm just going to give him a 1 as well. Because I don't feel right rating him higher than Cassie. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and for both of them, because I'm split decision between 1 and 2 for both of them, give them both a 1.5.
I think that's
So
fair.
I'll boost my Cassie rating a bit.
Yeah, I was going to give Marco 1.5.
Okay.
Just because
we're in agreement.
I don't think I've ever given a character a 1 before. Because I do love all of them, but...
David, we've given negatives to.
Okay, David doesn't count. He's terrible.
He is terrible. Rachel, how do we want to go about this? Do you want to rate both the nice and the mean Rachel?
It's so hard. Bad Rachel was like everything I didn't like about Rachel in like the first few books. Multiplied times 10. So I like couldn't stand her, but I also couldn't stand Ditzy Rachel. Like I hated both of them. But I love Rachel as a complete person, so I don't know.
Or do we want to rate mean and nice Rachel and then just pick the rating that those both net out to?
Yeah, I was going to say that because I really don't know what whole Rachel was like in this book.
Yeah, she only had like 2 lines.
Yeah.
What are you going to give nice Rachel, mean Rachel, and then their combined score?
I liked the moments of blind rage with mean Rachel. Like, those were my favorite parts. Even though that's obviously when she was, like, suffering the most. And I did think Ditzy Rachel got more nuanced as the book went on. So I will say a 2 for Ditzy Rachel and probably a 2 for both of them, actually.
Okay. So a 2 overall.
Yeah. I liked the overall effect that they both had, but I hated both of them individually.
I hated Ditzy Rachel. That's the end.
Yep.
Of my statement.
Yep.
Kind of like her arc towards the end of the book. She redeemed herself a little.
Yeah.
Mean Rachel, I related to in a way that scares me on a human level. But yeah, there's no way I can give her a 5 just 'cause she's my favorite. There's just no fucking way. I think I'm going to give her a 3. Because I want to take, as much as I'm giving, I don't know if I can mathematically do that, because I don't want to give Mean Rachel a 5. I want to give her like a 4. And I want to give Ditzy Rachel like a 1.
This is a very discuss-worthy book.
It is. And so we should abruptly end it. Yeah. Do you have any last thoughts, or do you want to pull us together?
I just want to know how this is going to affect Rachel in the future. Like, how... I'll just leave it at that. Y'all can take that where you want to go with it.
I know. This was like taking all of her concerns about her personality and how dark she's getting and just boom, blowing it right out of the water.
Yeah, and just like shoving her face in it.
Yeah, exactly. It'll have some implications, I'm sure. Whew.
Okay.
All right.
Where do we live on the internet?
We live on Gmail at anonymousanimorphs@gmail.com, so you can send us emails and tell us how we're bad at history. You can find us on Facebook at Animorphs Anonymous is our main page, or you can go to our super secret, super awesome group, which is facebook.com/group/Animorphs Anonymous. And you can also find us on the Twitter at Animorphs Anon. You can find us on Instaslam at Animorphs Anonymous. And I think that's it.
You can find our podcast wherever podcasts are available online for free, including but not limited to iTunes, Google Play. Oh wait, iTunes is going away.
What?
iTunes is dying. They're discontinuing it. Anyway, not iTunes eventually, but I think now you can. Google Play, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify. The end.
All right. Well, let's split in half and go our separate ways as starfish people.
2 hearts beat as one.
Okay, bye-bye!
Bye!